But I think people have to understand why they're angry when they're angry. And a
Mm.
lot of times what it means is that a rule or standard that you have has been violated. So of course, when it comes to COVID, a lot of rules and standards and boundaries have been violated for people because they're socially isolating and because of all of the different rules. And life is just simply not the same.
Mm. Oh, look, 100%. Because what I'm very bad at is I can see the anger coming, I can feel the anger coming, I know that I should stop it, and then I don't stop it, and I've just been vile to someone. So how can I intercept this anger? What are the ways of people doing this? You see the red mist descending, and you just need to blow it away. How can you do it?
Yeah, this is a question that a lot of
Oh, oh, I think we might.
times they
Oh,
have.
you're back. You're back. Carry on. Go for it.
Oh, I'm back. Okay, good. That's good. I think this is a problem that a lot of people have because when they're angry, they're reacting. And when you're in that moment of reaction, it's really hard to control it. So what I like to try to do when I work with people is really get to the root of the anger. And of course, when I re-imprint memories and all of that, they can, instead of anger management, they can actually just get rid of the anger entirely, which is amazing. But I would say that in terms of preventing yourself from getting overly angry
Mm.
and having really good coping skills. So a lot of preventative stuff I think would actually help. But if you're in the midst of anger, a lot of times, to be honest with you, Patrick, it's very hard to control it when somebody's in that mode. So I think that when, after the fact, they need to take a breather, evaluate why they were angry, what can be changed, and what can't be changed. There's a saying, it's like if you can change something, why be angry? And if you can't change something, why be angry?
Well, it's
Right?
very wise. It is very wise, and I'm usually wise after the event. What I do very well is apologise. What I don't do very well is actually be real in the moment. Now, you just said something there. I've got loads of questions to ask you, by the way, but you said something there about re-imprinting memories. Well, talk me through that. What's that?
Mhm. So when I re-imprint memories, it's so our brain processes trauma memories different than regular memory. And so I've said it before, but emotion is stored in one part of the brain, the event another, and then you're left with the core negative belief system. So a lot of times people get frozen in that event. So even though they can move forward in time, there's certain aspects of themselves that remain the same. And so they're unhealed. And so they can have these kinds of reactions like anger,
Mm.
especially when they feel unheard or they feel some aspect of themselves has been violated, right? So
Yeah.
they may have an experience today that their brain subconsciously pairs with something of the past, and then they get angry. So when we re-imprint a memory, we're accessing the subconscious to, in hypnosis, a form of hypnosis, to actually change the way that the brain has. We're reprocessing that memory. We're reauthoring the memory with a patient, so that the brain has a new version of an old memory, and we store it properly. So now they're reacting from a new place and not the old place.
Well, this
Very
sounds. It
fascinating.
is, honestly. You took the word right out of my mouth there. The word was going to be fascinating. That is incredible. And hey, look, if it works, which obviously it does because you do it, I think that's a fantastic step forward. Just in terms of for people that, because I think what people do badly, and I do this quite badly. I do a lot badly. I'm making myself out sound like a horrible person, but I am. So, but it's when someone else is angry with you. So I can be quite cool, calm, and collected. I'm like, hey, I've got this. I'm going to let them vent. I'm going to talk them down. And before I know it, I've kicked off. So what can people do? It's not just a question of doing some deep breathing and hoping it all goes away, is it? I mean, how can people just, what kind of maybe phrases can people say to themselves to avoid the Keir Starmer, Boris Johnson situation, which is essentially a fight in a corridor?
Well, this is a really great question because as a therapist, I really had to work on myself because, as you know, patients will get angry at different things, right? And sometimes they'll take it out on me as well.
Mm.
And I think that one of the things is that you can't take it personally. You really have to know yourself and know how you react to things and realize that this person is having their own issue that's coming from their own stuff and their own past and not react to it. And I do find that a lot of people hold grudges and a lot of people take things personally and a lot of people will because of that leave things undone. And they'll hold on to that anger through time, hoping that time will sort of heal it, or they'll stonewall, right? So they
Yeah.
don't address anything. And for me, I mean, I'm the kind of person, probably because of my career, where I can work through the anger very easily and quickly and sort of just resolve it and move on, as long as the other person is willing to do so. So that's my advice. You have to kind of be your own therapist and have some self-awareness, and don't take it personally.
Well, look, I get all that. Now we're seeing more and more Karens. Now I don't know what the male equivalent is. There a word for the male equivalent of a Karen? You understand what I'm talking about? The people that seem to basically always go into a store and demand to speak to the manager before shouting at them and just doing something ridiculous. This seems to be happening more and more. Now I know we're seeing it more and more because we've got more camera phones and all of this, and it's more accessible. But one thing that I've come to realise, at least I think I've realised it about society, is whether it's through social media or what, I think we're setting ourselves unrealistic life standards. So we're seeing these influencers who are in Dubai riding camels across the desert, dripping in gold jewelry, and then going and staying at a 7-star hotel. We're seeing people now who are multi-billionaires and people who've got great body image and all of this stuff. And I think it sets us quite an unrealistic standard. And I wonder whether or not this contributes to people's anger and people having a short fuse, or people feeling like they have to do things at 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time and at this unobtainable level. And that actually can get people very wound up and give them a short fuse.
Yeah, because it affects people's self-esteem is really what you're talking about. This perfectionism piece does affect people's self-esteem, and it makes them feel bad about themselves, and then it gives them a short fuse. But as far as the Karens and the complaining at restaurants and so on and so forth, I kind of felt like you were talking about me when you were saying this.
Really? Here we go. Yeah.
Yes, because I've been finding myself doing that a lot more, and I'm wondering, is this because I'm getting older, or is it because people aren't up to par as much as they used to be? And maybe that has something to do with the stress of COVID. I'm not really sure. As far as quality of service that people are getting at different restaurants or different being out, and I have kind of found that, and I did find that down in South Beach as well. But it's become very inconvenient. Roads are blocked off, can't do certain things, lots of rules and regulations, and it's tough for workers too. So quality of service goes down as well, and customers aren't used to this. So they're probably complaining a little bit more than they are used to doing.
Absolutely. Well, look, just before I let you get going, thank you very much for your time. Of course, we did have a bit of a to-do in British Parliament here. Boris Johnson was, I think we've got a technical phrase for it, mugging off the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, for quite a while. He was slating him across the dispatch box, and then apparently Sir Keir Starmer had enough of it. He's a man who normally, to be honest with you, don't quite know where he stands on anything, and then he decided actually he was going to stand all over Boris Johnson, allegedly, outside the House of Commons and in the lobby. If you had some words of wisdom to our dear political leader of the opposition as he was storming over to our Prime Minister in what was allegedly a fit of rage, what would you say directly to him to just chill him out, make him all zen, and hopefully, not accost the leader of this country?
I try to stay out of politics, that, but if I were to have to sit down with him, I'd really have to understand what was the root of his anger and what was behind that before I really gave him the correct advice as to what to do. And without actually knowing, his personal psychology.
Well, no one does. That's the point, unfortunately. And no one does.
Well, you need to fly me over there and I can figure it out.
Fantastic. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure. Dr. Lisa Palmer, thank you so much for joining us all the way from the US as well. Who's a psychotherapist.